Welcome to episode 68 of the Pulse of Physiology. I'm your host, Dr. Jim Davis, and today we're covering potassium and calcium homeostasis. These are two essential minerals or ions required for nerve function, muscle contraction, and blood pressure regulation. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how potassium and calcium levels are maintained, the effects of imbalances, and the roles of the endocrine and urinary systems in their regulation. So let's get started. And so we're going to start by talking about potassium homeostasis. Potassium is a major intracellular ion involved in fluid balance, nerve and muscle function, and cardiac activity. It plays a crucial role in membrane potential regulation, particularly during repolarization. The urinary system is the primary regulator of potassium levels. High potassium levels, or hyperkalemia, stimulate the release of aldosterone. Aldosterone promotes potassium secretion in the distal tubule and collecting duct. Aldosterone also enhances sodium reabsorption, which indirectly affects potassium balance. So hyperkalemia can be caused by excessive potassium intake, kidney dysfunction where potassium is not excreted as it's supposed to be, or adrenal gland damage where we have reduced aldosterone release. The effects of hyperkalemia are depolarization of cells because less potassium is actually going to leave the cell due to that reduced gradient. Hyperkalemia can also cause cardiac arrhythmias due to disruptions in electrical activity in the heart, as well as muscle weakness. On the flip side, we have hypokalemia, which is low blood potassium. This can be caused by excessive aldosterone release, which promotes excessive potassium secretion, low dietary potassium intake, or excessive loss through vomiting, diarrhea, or diuretics. This can lead to hyperpolarization of the cell because potassium will be more likely to leave the cell. This can also lead to muscle weakness and fatigue, as well as cardiac arrhythmias. Then there's calcium. Calcium, as you're probably aware, is vital for bone health, muscle contraction, nerve function, and blood clotting. Calcium is regulated via parathyroid hormone. And so low blood calcium stimulates the release of parathyroid hormone, which does three things. It increases bone resorption, which releases calcium from the bone into the bloodstream. It enhances renal calcium reabsorption. So as a result, there's less calcium lost in the urine. And it increases intestinal calcium absorption. And this occurs via vitamin D activation. Just as with potassium, we can have too high or too low levels of potassium, we can have the same for calcium. So hypercalcemia or high blood calcium can be caused by excessive parathyroid hormone release or excessive vitamin D intake. As a result, membrane potential becomes more negative. We're further away from threshold. Additionally, hyperkalemia can cause reduced sensitivity of voltage-gated sodium channels, meaning it makes it more difficult for these channels to open. Hyperkalemia can also lead to muscle weakness, fatigue, and cardiac arrhythmias. And finally, kidney stone formation is likely to occur when someone has hyperkalemia because you're trying to get rid of excess calcium. Then there's hypocalcemia. So this can be caused by reduced parathyroid hormone secretion, vitamin D deficiency, or chronic kidney disease. As a result, membrane potential becomes less negative because we're closer to threshold. This also increases sodium channel sensitivity and can lead to muscle cramps, tetanus, and cardiac arrhythmias. So to summarize, potassium and calcium homeostasis are critical for nerve, muscle, and cardiovascular function. Aldosterone regulates potassium balance by increasing potassium secretion and sodium reabsorption. Parathyroid hormone regulates calcium balance by stimulating bone resorption, and that's when calcium goes from the bone back into the bloodstream. Kidney reabsorption and intestinal absorption of calcium. Hyperkalemia and hypokalemia disrupt heart function and muscle activity, whereas hypercalcemia and hypocalcemia affect nerve excitability, muscle contraction, and bone health. And so that's it for episode 68 of Pulse of Physiology. I hope this episode has helped clarify how potassium and calcium homeostasis is maintained and why imbalances can be dangerous. Join me next time for episode 69, where we'll explore the homeostasis of blood volume, blood pressure, and body osmolarity. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and stay curious.